Hello, everyone. Welcome to Tea with TPS. Our distinguished guest today is Dr. Jija Madhavan Harisingh, IPS, a decorated police officer, the first lady police officer in the whole of South India, former DGP of Karnataka, a management expert who managed several public sector undertakings, an artist, innocent, an artist in a uniform till recently. She had run a foundation called Art Mantram Foundation, exhibitions all over the world, with some of them I have myself witnessed. And so in any way, it is a celebrity, Jija Madhavan. Welcome, Jija.
Thank you very much, sir. Really wonderful introduction. Thank you for inviting me here. I have listened to some of your episodes. I must congratulate you for so deftly building up an insightful and positive image of all those who come to tea with TPS.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Our viewers who do not know you well might wonder why the title Guru Anugraham. So I would like to say that this is a very well organized group that Jija is managing. It is very much focused on Sri Narayana Guru, but the people in the group whom I have noticed are not only dedicated and devoted to Narayana Guru, but most of them are experts and scholars. And in the last few months, I have learned so much about Sri Narayana Guru, which I had not read or heard, including his poetry, including his writings, and also very good studies of it. So in a way, we can say whatever is happening, the fact that we are here today together itself is Guru Anugraham. And whatever you have achieved and what the world goes about, everything is Guru Anugraham. So I thought this would be a very nice title. Do you agree with that?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir. So this is basically, it's not that much that about the group, but let me think. It actually goes back to, as you say, I also feel that everything is God's grace. It goes back to my baby class actually. When I was in Holy Angels, I was just 2.5, I think. Sister Marie Rose, I think that was her name. My contemporaries may correct me if they are ever listening to this. The first English word I heard repeatedly was "gobless." Gobless. I
Right.
didn't know what it was. Like
Okay.
my benchmates were saying, push a little, push a little. For a long time, I did not know what it was. Like that. Gobless also, I did not know what it was, but I also started automatically repeating that. God bless for everything at home also. Because at home, we always talked in Malayalam. So I thought that I was being grand by expressing
Using some
myself
English
in
words. Yeah,
English.
right.
Yes. Guru Anugraham or God's grace, I deeply believe in. In any case, by the grace of God, I am what I am, to quote Bible, one of my favorite books. But here it is about, as you said, the group which I had formed originally for my daughter, my husband, my brother, and some other friends who don't read Malayalam. Recently, that is 4 5 years ago, maybe, I had the good fortune to rediscover Sri Narayana as a guru of universal significance. I was invited to be the chief patron of Guru Dharma Prajarana Sabha, and whenever I went to address them and talked about something, I felt very awkward because I did not know much about Guru. Till then, I only knew അവനവൻ ആത്മസുഖത്തിനാചരിക്കുന്നവയെ അവരന്നു സുഖത്തിനായി വരേണം, which I had learned when I was very small. Atmodesha Shatakam, which my father had was quoting most of the time.
But
Whatever you should
Oru
do,
Oru Matam Oru Daivam Manushana is the most famous words.
whatever you should do should be for the comfort and happiness of others, is what this says. Of course, I knew oru jadi oru madam oru deivam manushana, and the lines which our president Sri Kovind quoted in original Malayalam when this parliament opened. ജാതിഭേദം മതദ്വേഷം ഏതുമില്ലാതെ സർവരും സോദരത്വേന വാഴുന്ന മാതൃകാ സ്ഥാനമാണിത്. Without caste differences, without religious rivalry, this is the ideal space where we all live as brethren. What a dream for India, sir, and also for the world today, if you look at it. A 100 years ago vision, yet so far away. I realized I am a total ajnani, but a jijnasu, ignoramus, but curious, eager to
Sure.
learn. So that is the reason why I started this group. And I was not that comfortable reading Malayalam and even listening to Malayalam scholars. So this group was formed to explore the teachings and the philosophy of the Guru. The significance is that while all discussions and writings around Guru are generally in Malayalam, we use English as a language. We are perhaps the only group in a group which started regular scholastic lectures in English for a world audience. The group has distinguished intellectuals, as you mentioned, from all castes and religions, including Ambassador T.V. Srinivasan, I must mention, former Chief Secretary and Minister in Bangalore, J. Alexander, who is an ardent devotee of Guru, Mr. Mohammed, who is the president of SNGC, Mr. Gopinath, father of Geeta Gopinath of IMF, I'm proud to say, Dr. Kamala Unnikrishnan, a guru, also a guru scholar, not belonging to the caste. So it is it is to project, to study and project the teachings of a universal guru. Can we
That's very
really?
good. I have not seen anything like that before or after. So it's really, really commendable that you have this because there is so much more to learn about him. I released a book on Srinarayana Guru in English a few months ago. Someone who lives in Philadelphia had written a very voluminous book, which was very useful. So that was the only really deep reading that I ever had about Narayana Guru. And this sloka that you mentioned, Yesudas has made it very famous.
Yes.
Madhurgastanamanida. Even in the Kerala Center in New York, what they have written in the auditorium is the same lines. And that's very, very meaningful and very, very appropriate.
Yes.
Gija, let me remind you of the first time we met. Do you remember that?
Of course. How can I ever forget, sir?
I remember Sudhakar Rao, Nirupama's husband, bringing you into my office room in Washington. And I thought you were a college girl. And
I was in jeans at that time, jeans and t-shirt, yeah.
Right. And you had a very minor request that you wanted to hold an exhibition of your paintings the same day, I think. There was no time.
No. That was
There was
next
no
month,
venue. Is that so? Anyway, I said I sold that quickly for you by saying that we'll hold it in the embassy. And after that, many things have happened. You came to Vienna, you went with my wife to Germany, 3 women's exhibition, a lot of things. And since then, yes, since then we haven't seen you much. Both of us were on different circles. So it's good to see you again and talk about some of these things. And first, of course,
you had come to Delhi and had inaugurated
your Mantram, right?
Art Mantram exhibition also, sir. I cannot forget that.
Yes, I was introduced to some very famous artists.
Yeah, Anjali Ila Menon and all were there.
Yeah, right. So let's go back to your police career. You had the distinction of being the first. Were you just after Bedi, or she was the first Indian, right, in the police service?
Yes, actually, it is a regular question. Basically, people ask, "How did you join?" Is what they ask. Yes, Kiran Bedi was joined in 1972. As you also would have read, she had to go up to the then Prime Minister Indira Gandhi to just secure her position in the IPS. She was being offered other services, like I also was. And then after her came Kanchan Chowdhury in 1973, who was her own cousin. I was
So these were the two before you, is it? Two ladies
two
before
of them before me. In fact, other people also had joined, but then they all fell on by the wayside kind of a thing. But I'm the third person to join, and the first from South India.
Right.
Yes.
So you were right away from the beginning. You were in the Karnataka cadre, not
Yes,
Kerala.
yes. So basically, my mother was saying, who are the other people who were there? So Kanjan Chaudhary, we did not know anything about Kiran Bedi. I very after great search, I found out that there is one other person, Kanjan Chaudhary, and mm, but she said, but they were all Punjabis. എല്ലാം പഞ്ചാബികളാണ് നീ അവിടെ പോയിട്ട് എന്ത് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. That was what it was. Um,
And
and
Sri Lekha came after you.
yes, I think she is. I don't know her batch actually, but yes, much about 4 5 years later, I think.
82, I think. I had her on my program the other day.
Yes. So 7 years later, I'm 75. So basically, people keep asking me, how did you join the service in 1975? You always wanted, was it your dream? Your father was in the police and things like that. Nothing actually. As a matter of fact, as you also know, women in their early 20s were not looking to join the Indian police service at that time. It definitely was not an option for any woman in Kerala or in India for that matter, or for the world. In fact, even in the world at that level, at that senior level, police was not an option for a woman. Um, my
But
ecosystem.
now there are many who give the first choice as police service.
No, sir. Actually, what had happened is that I just did not, frankly speaking, I did not have any idea of joining the police service till I went before the interview board. I was actually selected to do a PhD in London under the British in Oxford under the British Council scholarship, and I was a lecturer in English in Maharajas College, and I was attending what do you call an orientation program before the final selection when the interviews came for central services and the police. So I went to Madras, and they asked me. So I mean, I saw all these people, all suited and booted, and many of them were there, and they asked me. I knew the technique of the interview, that how you lead them on,
Right.
and they asked me, given the choice, which service will you select? Now, I never had the time to prepare anything for the interviews, because as always, I had 100 things on my plate, and I had just gone for the interview. Vaguely, I knew the technique, you have to lead them on to what you want them to answer.
Conversation, yeah, right.
Yeah, that's all I knew. I had never done any coaching, did not go to a coaching class for that. So, uh, uh, I mean, when I was asked, I said, everybody knows about the police and what ails the police and how we can better the police. I mean, I was quite an imaginative person. I was already a debater and in college and things like that. So I just considered it like a question like that. And I answered all the questions that they asked. They gave me so many scenarios and everything. I enjoyed myself as my interviewers. I think I got a very good mark for that. And then, of course, I led them on to Shakespeare, which was my forte, and that was really good. I was actually I mean, everybody was asking when I got into the service. What had happened is that, so I was selected for the central services as the police, and I had fairly good rank in both. I think in police I was 17, central services I don't really remember. So, but I rejected, or I sent a long telegram saying that I, Jija Punama Madhavan, hereby reject all the central services, and my only choice is the Indian Police Service. I must have sent about 6 telegrams to MHA. In fact, I think Krishnan Nair, who was SP Koilon at that time, had advised me, because his wife was my colleague in as a lecturer, and he was when he was in Koilon, my mother was the district educational officer. So he had advised me what I should do. I said that I do not know any other service and I don't want to be a pen pusher. Definitely. I would like to have a more active, to be in a more active service. And I thought that police service would, I would be able to do something to, I'd be able to make a difference to the world, maybe, like Jane Austen working on an inch of ivory. I thought I may be able to work on a square foot of something, one issue I can take up, and maybe I can cleanse it. And I thought that if nobody went in and tried to, you can't cleanse it from outside. You have to go inside and cleanse it from outside. And that's what I was thinking. Otherwise, as you know, I was a lecturer in English literature in the most prestigious college, which is Maharaja's College in Cochin. And I must say that I have produced very illustrious students, like Binoy Vishwam, your minister, then
Yes.
Shibu Lal, they were all my favorite students in college.
Very good. So you have some rich people as your students.
Of course,
Shibulal.
many. When I go to Cochin, the plane is full of people who know me, MPs, MLAs, all kinds of people. It's really
Venu Rajamani was there. Was Venu Rajamani there?
I'm not too
Later.
sure. I'm not too sure, sir. I'm not too sure. Sanu
So
Master and all there were.
he's also a famous alumnus of Maharaja's College.
Yeah, Mr. Krishna Nair, I think, who joined IFS, was there um, uh, in University College, actually. He was among the lecturers.
Well,
So
talking of Shakespeare, you know that as we are talking, this is Shakespeare's birthday. Did you know
today
that?
is the Shakespeare's birthday. My grandson shares Shakespeare's birthday.
Exactly. 23rd.
Yes.
Of course, he also died on the same date because they
Yes,
couldn't remember two dates.
Yes, actually.
So I'm going to do a recitation of Shakespeare soon after this for somebody else.
So that
So
would be
it's
really wonderful, sir. So
Okay.
actually, as Shakespeare, in fact, I was so happy teaching Shakespeare. Of course, Madhukar Rao had given me Shakespeare because he was on my interview board for a lecturer, and he said that I'm taking you to my college. Now I did not know what was his college and things like that. But when I landed up there, I joined in actually Polytechnic in Kalamassery for 2 3 months, 2 months, and then then when the college reopened, I was taken to Maharaja's College. But along with Shakespeare, for masters MA class, where many people who in the IAS like Urmila Raghavan and all that narrowly escaped being my victims. I also taught Wordsworth, Shelley, and Keats, and all that. I was so happily teaching romantics and Shakespeare, plus, of course, all the other things you one had to teach. I was having a very good time, and everybody was thinking when I wanted to join the police service, when the results came, and when I wanted to join the police service, everybody was thinking, what has gone wrong to this good girl? He should get married and have kids. That's what everybody was saying in Trivandrum at that time. Not get onto this wagon of adventure. What happens? You're riding a horse and you fall down and break your legs. You're climbing the mountains and a bear comes and attacks.
No, you have to take risks in order to succeed in life.
Of course.
Absolutely certain.
Of
But in the police, what do you think is your biggest accomplishment? How did you change anything in the police?
Yes, sir. So, if you ask me about my accomplishments, I would like to just answer you in a very generic way. I would, I have three things to
Please,
say.
please go ahead.
The first thing is that as the first lady IPS officer in South India, accomplishments, the simplest one is that when I was trekking up, clearing the thorny bushes and chasing away the leopards, bears and foxes, I was always conscious of that position as the first woman who is doing that task. The sacred duty I have to perform to establish that women are as good or even better than men in police service delivery. And I established that. That is my first best first number one point accomplishment.
Otherwise, nobody would have made you DGP of Karnataka. So you don't need,
No, I
you
like.
don't need any other evidence for that.
Secondly, was to show all the young women, courageous, bold young women, that here is your opportunity to enter the Indian Police Service and to have a powerful life and change the world, make a difference to your life and the life of the people around you. That was the second thing I was very conscious of and worked towards achieving. So I always talk to people, not only there are a lot of hordes of men, inspired by me, but my eye was on the women, that they should come in hordes. I may not know them, they may not know me, but there are so many, nearly 500 of us in the IPS direct recruits, which and 1,000 of us including the other officers. So it's a great, I mean, it is a sense of such a sense of fulfillment for me that my it is, I consider that as an accomplishment. And thirdly, very interestingly, sir, as a follow on, is to prove that in life we all go through storms. The boat rocks and maybe split into two, and it may sink, but you do come up. You have to come up and survive, is what is actually matters. What my father, who I lost in my early teens, used to say when I was a young girl: you can have an effective career or an fulfilling life. That's what he thought. My mother was a career person. She was a high school teacher, DEO, and then retired as a science consultant to the state. But I don't know why she used to say, he did not see her as DEO and all that. He passed away. But I had to prove that wrong. No, Dad, you made me aware of the distinction early enough. When I was, before I was 10, he used to say this. So I was aware that, yes, if you're determined, you can succeed. You help me prove that I can combine an effective career and a fulfilling life. That may be my message to everybody, sir, because in police, either people before me had opted for either they had a bias either towards a career and did not focus so much on the family, and the second person focused on the family and took a non-executive post again and again and again to stay in Bombay and be with the family, whereas I had done everything. I had faced the dragon. I was outside, I was inside, I was everywhere. I proved that a woman can have a family. Tough it is, but you can have a family, you can have children, you can have grandchildren. I have three. The third, as you know, is just out.
Everything has been proved. But how was it to be married to an IAS officer? Did you
Oh,
have to salute? Did you have to salute him?
yes, of course, I had to salute him. In fact, as soon as I got married, I was posted to Madhugiri, which was where he was AC. I
So
was
you worked together with him in the
Yes,
same
yes, yes, yes.
district.
I worked together with him and I had to salute him. And it was really wonderful for me to salute him. And the people of Madhugiri, they are really nasty people. They have attacked the police station, and they have in Sira. Sira is the southernmost tip of the Mughal Empire. And they were ferocious. They are really bad people were also there. They were very good people, scholars and things like that. But then they considered me as the Bahu of Madhugiri. They thought that
Okay.
this is the princess. I mean, my husband was very, very popular. He was doing land reforms, act, all that time. Four talukas were there, so 4 days a week he was in the talukas. So he used to go the first day. That evening I will go there, and I was there for 3 days. It was a boring subdivision, so no DSP before me, or no ASP was there. I was the first ASP. No DSP before me had ever gone to any of these subdivisions very close to Pavagada, which is close to Anandapur and things like that. But they were seeing me. Everybody was seeing me. This young girl going around in uniform in the jeep for 3 days or 4 days a week, every week. So I was not in my headquarters at all, like all the other DSPs. I was there, but I was with my husband, and it was really, really wonderful to just hang out with him, and I really enjoyed that. But it was difficult, actually. You were asking how was it to work with an IAS officer. It was actually because I was married to an IAS officer. I had another view of what is happening inside the government, and we could discuss
Right.
so many things. But it was also, there's a service rivalry, as you know, sir. IAS and IPS people can't get
Get
along.
along.
So I had my own gang, and we
Particularly
had.
when they are husband and wife, I suppose.
But yes, I
Right.
cannot say that I will not say that we never had any conflicts. We had conflicts, but that I would say was all because of the individuals, and the angularities of us as individuals. I should say that I was this small town girl, a village girl, as my boss Nizamuddin, who was married to married to a Mallu, used to say. And even in the academy, I always felt that I was cat's whiskers, and I was really confident and everything. I was this debater in college and everything. And but then he was a totally different species. After studying in Doon School and St. Stephen's College, being the Tiger's Whiskers was probably in the Delhi circles. His father was a additional secretary, Government of India, and DG in Forest Department, top, not DG those days, IG. So he was the top gang there, and so I could not understand what he said when he said, and he could not understand, most probably. So conflicts were there, not so much because of IAS and IPS, because of our culture. My father was a Gandhian. His father was an MBE, member of the British Empire, the blue-eyed boy of the British,
Loyal to the British.
loyal to the British. I couldn't tolerate that. So there
But
were
many of our
conflicts.
national leaders were loyal to the British at one time or the other. So
Yes.
that should not be a disqualification. But how did you manage to maintain all these other activities while you were focusing so much on the police? And also, I noticed that you did take away your uniform to be a civilian officer for some time, several times,
Several
in
times.
different public sector. So
Yeah.
how did you reconcile the two?
So the thing is that as a civil servant, huge and challenging opportunities come our way, as you know, everywhere. Not merely in government, in the opportunities came my way also in the corporate sector, where I had the opportunity to serve at challenging organizations like National Textile Corporation at that time. Shakti Samanta was that huge agitations used to be there in Bombay, textile labor and things like that.
Trade union, right?
Trade unions
Yeah.
were there. NTC mills were, they were threatening to close the NTC mills, and NTC mills didn't want to. The labor did not want to close it. And I would like to perhaps, if there is time, share one story of how I closed one mill, the first of the many mills which closed later. But the first mill closed was by me.
Why? Because it was not making profit. It was a sick
No, no,
mill.
no. 11 mills were slated for closure for 15 years by Abid Commission, but then nobody could close it because of these.
Labor.
Yeah, but I worked in all, as you said, in 5 public sector undertakings, 3 of Government of India and 2 of Government of Karnataka. Very fascinating, fulfilling, varied experiences.
Do they all still survive, or all they have been privatized since then?
No, 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 no. Actually, privatization has happened in National Textile Corporation. The first mill I closed was Mysore Mills, where today the government of India sold it to Mandri developers, and there is a metro station and a huge mall there. And otherwise, Mysore Mills was closed. It was under the, what do you call, BIFR, and it was of course, government of Karnataka PSU, and it was totally 2 years of brain work for me. Really, really, it was
But I want to also know what is your view about government running businesses?
sir.
Because
I think that
often it is said that it is none of the business of the government to do business, you know.
no,
So, and
I
that is
feel that
now, and that is now becoming more and more popular. We are now disinvesting. We are nationalization is less. So, what is the better tendency you think for countries' development? Now it is
sir,
considered fashionable to have private sector everywhere, right?
that is true, sir. But what I feel is that having worked in five public sector undertakings, I would like to say that it has got its own drawbacks and maladies. It has got, vested interest. It has got
Red
political
tape of the government, red tape of the government.
red tape of the government. Actually, I feel that red tape of the government is because of the mediocre leadership. It can be circumvented. It can be. That's my experience in these
No, there
five.
have been many successful PSUs, depending on who manages it and what is
Exactly,
the business
exactly,
and what is the composition, etc. But
exactly.
the general tendency now is to say that disinvest, government must leave these things. But there is another tendency which I have noticed in Kerala since I came here. Here, there is some respect for Kerala government undertakings.
Yes, like
Not like
Caltron and all that.
contrary to the general impression, because people say, oh, this is produced by the government, then suddenly it becomes respectable.
Yes,
Everybody blames it for not being effective, etc., etc. But at the same time, when they say that this is produced by even a chicken shop, if it is a government of Kerala undertaking, then
yes.
people seem to trust it more,
So
not the
I'll
other way around.
mention one thing. When I was studying, University College was one high funda college where I studied, government college.
Yes, I studied there also.
Yes, sir. We are both alumni of the
Yeah, right.
of that. Yes,
All
sir.
my
That's
5 years I
that.
studied there. Yeah.
Yes, I have another link. But as you would know, that was the college where you couldn't get admission.
Yes,
The best
exactly. That's true.
people who could not get admission in university college went to the university department
Any
and
other
the other
college.
colleges, private colleges. Whereas in India, other places
But
in
the
India,
same thing cannot be said about the university college anymore, unfortunately.
that is true. That is true. That may be what I am trying to say. That
But
in the
your time
olden
and
days,
mine, that was the first. I never applied anywhere else. I went
mm,
for BA there, I went for MA there,
mm,
and I did not even look at other colleges
mm.
except when I graduated and then I wanted to teach somewhere. I went
Same
to
actually.
Marianas College.
Same actually. When I was after 10th standard, I applied to the women's college, and people who could not get admission in women's college went to All Saints, which was a new college we started. But government colleges were so well respected. Actually, University College you are talking about, the alumni. My mother as well as my father had gone there and studied, and of course at that time
Yes,
it
that
was
was legendary. The teachers were all Kumara
yes,
Sir, and
yes, yes,
everybody was so legendary there.
yes.
Anyway, so but this is there even in Kerala today. There is still some trust in government institutions,
Not only
but
that,
that is
hmm, not only
but
that,
that is
sir,
not the general trend in the country.
yeah, not only that, I think that it is very relevant. We should have public sector undertakings, but tighten the leadership. Put such people who believe in running it well. What happens in it is if somebody runs a public sector undertaking well in public sector, what happens is that any decisions, any decision is questioned. We have got this vigilance and all kinds of inquiries and things like that, so people are just there to sort of they're in everybody is in the defensive actually, and in private sector impact of decisions are immediately seen, but in public sector it is not seen. But what is relevant I feel is that not only that people have trust in that in public sector because they will not make undercut all and from profits and things like that, but the social responsibility is also huge, sir. We do look after people, we do look after the community, so mm,
And
so
profit is not the only motive.
that
You may make profit, but that is
that
not the
is
motive. Yeah,
yeah,
true.
in these days when we are talking about social responsibility, corporate social responsibility, and and a community inclusiveness and sustainable development and things like that, I think that more and less of disinvestment should be there. For example, I mean, people have become billionaires because the government had disinvested places. For example, Ashoka here, it was disinvested 70 crores. Mr. Suri paid. That place is worth up maybe 2,000 crores today. So like that, all disinvestment. In fact, airport authority, after my time, I've worked with the airport authority of India also. Actually, I worked in three government of India undertakings. One was textile, one was nuclear power corporation, and the other one was civil aviation, airport authority of India. Airport authority of India, as you know, many I mean, initially three airports were disinvested. Four airports were disinvested: Bombay, Delhi, Hyderabad, and Bangalore. And then,
Also Trivandrum. Now also
and now,
Trivandrum.
yeah, now for six, those went to GMR and GVK. They didn't do very well, unfortunately. But now, five more airports, five or six more airports have gone to Adani. So I really do not know. It has got much can be said on both sides, sir. It can have, it can be good, it can be bad. Actually, we can't really generalize, is what I feel.
Okay, so you enjoyed both the police life as well as the
I
PSU life.
I enjoyed both
But
the
which
things.
one had more challenges personally?
Uh, Personally, I would say Mysore Millers was the most challenging job I have ever done. 2 years of really, really hard work and really, really, strategy and things like that. But what I
When you are
feel,
in police, you have enforcement of law, you have more power. People recognize you as the instrument of the government. But when you are in a public sector, you are a civilian, right?
that is
So,
it, sir. You're more grounded. You're an ordinary citizen. In
right.
police, it was slightly easier because you have the power. Whatever
Then
you
throw,
say was
throw your
law.
weight around, as it were.
Yes, yes, yes. So basically, what I feel is that, as I always say, if you focus on the positive and the possibilities anywhere, public sector, private sector, anywhere, there is a lot you can do in your various capacities. Government is a powerful position, including as an individual who believes in making the world a wee bit better. Actually, what is your belief? What is your value system? That is what matters, is what I think that uh, you can make individual contributions to the world and people around you wherever you are, more in public sector and more in government than in private sector. Private sector, you have the objective, single minded objective of making
Making
profit
money.
and pleasing your
Right.
bosses. Yeah, that is not there. That is
No, but
not
at
there.
one time, making money was considered a sin, but not anymore. Because only if you have money, that will go down and everybody gets, total income has to grow. And
No,
so
but
that has been acceptable now, but not in the past. In the past,
no,
business was considered, kind of immoral or not making too many profits, not doing enough to the society, etc. But that has changed.
sir,
The
but
mindset.
it is also changing because of the social responsibility and things like that. Mm, uh, People are becoming materialistic. I mean, you can say, as a general rule, but look at all the rich people, the techies, all the people who have made money. uh, they reach the top of the career and then they throw it and come and start a foundation. Look at the Agastya Foundation. Look at many. We have got many examples. We have, like Bill Gates only we hear about, and Bill Gates and other people from abroad. It was a value in America all the time. All the museums are through the donations of philanthropists. Philanthropy was fashion. Philanthropy people.
Also there is a secret to that.
uh,
You cannot inherit too much from your parents. So much of foundations come in America because you can only give a certain amount to your children.
you're absolutely
If
right.
you don't invest in this kind of social foundations, it will all be taken away by the government.
That
And
is
there
so
have been
sad.
moves by some people to change the law, but then they realized that these great institutions like Columbia University, which has a 90 billion, investment,
Yeah,
and this would not have come if
yeah,
that rule was not there. So that is one of the reasons why in America you find a lot of money being invested in public causes.
yeah, yeah.
We
Getty
don't we don't
Museum.
have that, but
Mm.
yeah.
Get him
So that is
everywhere. I've in fact, for the past so many, ever since I came to know about this about 15 years ago, 15 20 years ago, I used to go to this. When I came to Washington, sir, I went to Georgetown University to study art. At that time itself, I used to wonder how all the halls, all the museums, all the artworks, such huge things are all donations of Mr.
yes,
and Mrs. So and so.
that's
And
right.
I studied it, and I found out, when I found out, I was hoping that the governments also, our government also can bring in some modification in law. But here, all the politicians believe that they have to earn and hoard for 7 to 10 generations of their children. That is the
Right, right.
problem. So they won't take,
That's right.
they won't
That's
take
why
the
this.
law.
No,
That is
one of
the
the things
problem.
I did when I was in education was to link, education institutions with businesses. Telling them, you tell us what kind of graduates you want, and we'll produce them for you, but you put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah,
Here, what happens is government spends the money or other private institutions spends the money. They come and very generously recruit them and take away your best students. They don't invest anything on them.
yeah,
But in the US, it is not like that. Johnson and Johnson has a business school or something, and they invest money. They get the best people to teach there, and therefore you get better graduates. But as
so
you said, that does not work here because an odd sponsorship or a little bit of internship. But this kind of integrated functioning of businesses and the institutions, it has not come up yet, sadly.
but it is starting to come, sir. I talked about Agastya Foundation. This person is
No, now Ashoka University, or there are so
Ashoka,
many things.
so JSW University, and the business houses are realizing this. And then, especially the Marwadis I found in Gujarat and all that, earlier they used to just make money and have some charity, some annadana and things like that. But now they have realized that the power lies in creating educational institutions. So you find schools, colleges everywhere, they're being created. So if the business houses, that is another way of looking at it. If the business houses can come forward like the olden days, priests and things like that, if the church, like the church, if the business houses will take over the responsibility of the church, that way, Sri Narayana Association, Marivanews, SN colleges, and all that are there.
NSS
NSS,
colleges.
NSS colleges and all that are there. But more and more individual businessmen who are becoming billionaires, who have gone to Dubai, and they are the what do you call the um, uh, uh, like the sheikhs of
Yeah,
uh,
right.
Dubai. They should come back here and they should create
They do and
huge.
come and invest. But one big problem in Kerala is another one which I try to tackle. We do not allow private universities in Kerala. It's the strangest of things because the best new generation universities have come in the private sector.
Yeah.
Not that even Mar Ivanus is willing to invest in a university, but
Mm,
they are not allowed. The
mm.
rules do not permit it. And I even prepared a bill to be presented to the assembly to start private universities, but it was opposed tooth and nail by I don't know who, I don't want to name them,
So
but without
yeah,
without any.
I wanted to mention here that for the past 10 years, I'm feeling slightly frustrated. Why you're breaking your head against the government of Kerala? And why don't you just advise any other governments who would be so happy to take your advice and allow universities? Here we have so many universities: Christ University, Garden
Yes,
City University.
and all the students are Malayalis there.
All the students are
Christ
Malayalis.
University, 90% of the
So,
teachers and the students
but
are Malayalis.
what is sad is that so many universities are sanctioned, but the quality of education. When will we able to elevate it to the standard of Oxford and Cambridge and Stanford? And
Bring them here. Bring them here. That is my third point.
so
Get
why
the
bring
foreign
them here?
universities here.
Create. Why don't we
No,
create?
even if they come here, we all don't have to go there. They can come and establish, and they will not come for the money. They will come for the experience.
So
Because
ISB is ISB. I have also done a course by Kellogg, London School of Business, and in ISB I did a course. It was by Wharton. And three colleges were there. I don't remember just now which those were. It was not Harvard because I had gone to Harvard otherwise. So I was not. I thought that these three universities will add to my list, but I didn't really take much interest. But why can't we? Yes, we can bring them here, but why can't we raise to that level, sir? Stanford, there is a story going around in all the things. This boys, this modest looking couple walked in, wanted to see the dean of Harvard, and was not allowed. And somebody said that when the dean came out and talked, what do you want? And they said, we want to put a statue of our son or something. And they said, no, we don't, or many children die, we don't put up statues. And then they said that, okay, we will give a hall. He said that hall, do you know Harvard to make something like this cost some $1 million? I said, oh, only that much. And they went and made Stanford. It's a story. I don't know whether it is a story or if it is the truth. But why can't we, our people, with why don't you be a consultant for that?
simple, Jija, mindset. Our mindset is still of the 19th century, unfortunately.
That is the
That's the
problem.
I always say 19th century mindset, 20th century syllabus, and 21st century education we are trying to catch up with. You
So
cannot do that.
yes.
You cannot fill so many gaps.
Yeah, except Christ University, I think Mr. Alexander is the chairperson. The other universities, the standard is so low.
Is it?
Yeah, but so all the universities, if an evaluation model can be made, and if they can be brought up to those levels, either by twinning or otherwise also, we have got intellectuals, sir. Why don't we utilize that, and why do we wallow in mediocrity is
No,
what
over
I want to ask you.
politicization. Over politicization. Because if you have to be a vice chancellor, you have to belong to a party camp, or that kind of situation. Anyway, but education is an area which has tremendous possibilities. Unfortunately, Kerala is behind the rest of the world because of some of these things that we have, and I tried very hard to break that, and I could not do so. Maybe the next government might do something, we don't know. Anyway, coming back to your present activities, I think we are running out of time. Your art world, can you tell us something about that? Do you still paint? Do you hold exhibitions? I know you do organize a lot of artwork, but are you still painting, and are you?
Yes, sir. So basically, I wanted to, when I was very young, my ambition was to go to Shantiniketan and study there. But since my dad,
How many ambitions did you have?
I just did not,
Already
policing was not an ambition, I told you, sir.
from Harvard to Shantiniketan. Very good.
Yeah. So,
Okay, go ahead.
sir, my ambition was always to serve the world. I wanted to be a doctor, and my father thought that if I become a doctor and become lalach, become greedy, then it won't be a good idea. Uh, but yes, one thing I always wanted to, Shantiniketan was always pulling me. But then I had to, when I was just before I entered my teens itself, all there, my father passed away, and I had to look after the lands. I had to look after. He had some, I don't know, innumerable plots of land and farms, and my grandfather was a king's contractor, so he also gave quite a lot of land, and so nobody to look after the land. My father had a business, some distributorship of glass factory, and so I, as a eldest person, and I had three younger children. Two of them were very naughty. Two boys were there, and one is, I don't know whether you know. He made his mark as he's the person who
Tourism.
brought up Harshan Stark.
Yes.
His company has brought up this Kerala, God's own country.
Yes, I've heard of him. Yes.
Yes, and even he and Amitabh Kant are very close, and Amitabh Kant has written a book, and one page is given to Harshan.
Yes,
And
I've
even,
seen that.
yeah. You know, communist government asks why we don't believe in God, why Kerala, why
God's own
the
country.
slogan Kerala, God's own country, and things like that. Because bringing up those children to
Now
this level.
the communists say gods are on their side. So,
That is true. So I could not leave Trivandrum and go because I found that sharks were around. All the relatives just wanted to grab. So I had to hold fort. I had to literally stay there and hold fort. So I just followed my father's footsteps. Next love was literature. So I did literature. My sat in the same bench.
and painting, where did you start?
Yeah, so paintings, sir, so it was always there. I always had, my house was full of half finished oil paintings and all that. And when I was in Maharajas College, I had attended Devans and Kaladharans. There used to be a thing, model studies and all that. I had done a lot of charcoal work and things like that. But how I started very seriously was I started doing Tanjore paintings and all that as a de-stressing thing when I was DCP traffic and all that. Into the night, 3 o'clock and all that, I used to do painting. But how I did was that I had a small problem in the office, and so I took leave. And my children were in the boarding school. My husband was very busy making Mr. Deve Gowda the prime minister at that time. He was a resident
Right.
commissioner, and I had this huge house all to myself, air conditioned. So I just got together some artists, and I learned. I knew about this new medium called acrylic, which has come in, and I learned how to use acrylic in various ways. This guy showed me 15 ways of using acrylic, and also paper, acrylic, paper, and oil on paper, oil with water, all kinds of things. It was so interesting. And he told me, I used to paint for 1 week, and then he will come, and then he told me every time. He used to say, ma'am, you are an artist, your creativity is far surpasses mine, and things like that. I said that, can I sell? So he said, should we try? And he took some two works of mine, and he called back as soon as he went. He said that somebody came to buy my paintings and instead bought your paintings.
Yes. You
When
gave a 10% commission, did you?
and no, he had to. I had to pay him for some framing and all that. So I said, you keep the money. 1,200 rupees each, two works. So 2,400 was the first work.
That's a
But
huge
then,
amount of money. Yes.
but actually, I did. I had my first solo exhibition in Australia. I was discovered in Australia, I say, in 1997. When I was there, I was just looking through all my paint works which I had done there, paperworks, and this director of the we were near Sydney, so the director of the art museum there was passing by, paused there and talked to me and said, "Would you like to have an exhibition here?" And they put up an exhibition, Indian Magic. So this
I was not the first promoter of your exhibition. That was much later.
no, so at that time, the Consul General from Sydney had come and inaugurated the exhibition. I remember, and the ethnic minister for ethnicity had come as a chief guest and things like that. It was a very big exhibition. It was really wonderful. And then 1999, how I just got into this painting and art mantram and all that is because in 1999 TV had just come into our homes, and I saw this fully pregnant 19-year-old girl receiving the coffin of a husband, and it broke my heart, and I wanted to do something. And at that time, Jayendra Chaudhary, who you also know, who helped me do the exhibition later on in Washington when you organized it, he was he had helped me. He and Subir had framed all my paintings for the Australian exhibition. He said I had to give one painting to him as coolie, as fees. So his wife Radha demanded that, and when they came, they liked Radha liked one, Jendo liked one, children liked one each, and four paintings they took away. And then they said, Kargil was there, and I was in Parishani. I had to give
It was soon after Washington. You came to Washington 98, is it?
before.
97.
Yeah, this is before. I came to Washington immediately after that in 2000. But this was 99 July. I had an exhibition for Kargil. My ambition was to collect together 40, 50 lakhs of 1,000 rupees, but I gave 2.53 lakhs to Kargil Fund. So I am actually featured in the book written by General Malik, Kargil. Jija Madhavan Hari Singh, a simple IPS officer, IG, had donated this. This is the biggest contribution by an individual and an officer, he has written there. So,
Very good.
what from after that, what I found is that I just found the underbelly of the art world, sir. I found that artists who I was meeting in all the embassies and all the embassy parties and all those places, they are actually in abject poverty. They did not have money for medical expenses. They did not have money for their the fees for their children. Nothing. They would come up to me, bring three canvases, and ask for 50,000 rupees. 50,000 was too much at that time. My salary must have been about 20,000 or something like that. So when my salary was 20,000, giving 2.53 lakhs was a huge amount of money. But I found out that even if we start something, we don't we pull together 500 rupees, 2,000 1,000 rupees, and if we have art exhibitions and if people can sell their works, provide a platform, it is a great service to the art world. That is
So
how
that
we
is how it
started.
started, the
That's how
promotion
we
of art
started.
exhibitions.
Yes, in 1999 we started, and in 2000 I had come. So, in fact, I saw today when I was just going through something, and I saw this catalog. This was a catalog which I had used when I did that in a exhibition in Washington. This was my picture at that time.
Yes, I remember.
So from that time onwards, you gave me a hands up, and then you helped me organize that exhibition in Berlin and Vienna.
Yes, my
We
wife was very proud of that. That she
Yes.
went to Berlin.
Yes. It's really wonderful. She danced there and things like that. So after that, I have had many exhibitions across the world, but also that exhibition in Washington, Berlin, and Vienna. I must admit now that uh, sort of satiated me. The craving to have more and more exhibitions. Exhibitions happened, it's fine, but I did not have the craving anymore to have more
You had
exhibitions.
your crowning glory, as it were.
It was, yeah, yes, they were my crowning glory, truly, sir. Thank you so much for that, sir.
Okay, Jija, we must conclude. We would have
Yes,
gone on forever, but I think our audience will want a break.
of
so,
course, of course, of
so let
course.
us conclude by saying that this is all Guru Anugraham that has made you what you are today. And
Yes,
I'm so
definitely.
glad that you spared some time on the day your grandson was born to chat about some of these things. And I hope you'll remember that for a while because your grandson is very precious. And on a Shakespeare's birthday, there are
Yes,
so
sir.
many good things about today. But of course, the world itself is in very bad shape, as you know.
Yeah,
India is actually in the grip of a huge disaster.
yeah.
But apart from that, I think these memories were very good, and I hope India will soon recover from this great tragedy that we are facing today.
So actually, I would like to end this by saying that the time is finite and every moment is precious. So we should find time to do what we can, even in these pandemic times. India is an exciting place. I found in my short life, and I found that we can do so much. Our challenges are huge, but so are the opportunities if we want to do anything.
True, but in the last 1 year, I have seen is the thought that haunts you all the time. You know, the
Yeah,
pandemic haunts
the
you all the time.
pandemic.
You
Yeah,
may
yeah.
do many things. I do a lot of things, but I don't know. It is not the same kind of feeling that one had before. You know, that
That is true.
optimism, that sense of joy. Suddenly, you remember how many people are suffering, what things are happening, that invisible enemy, and that is something that affected all of us, in spite of
That's true,
everything
sir.
else that we are able to do.
That
So
is
let's
so.
hope we survive all this. And I
Yes,
always
sir.
say these days, survival is success, nothing
Yes, sir.
else.
We
So
had
may
a
you
poetry
survive for long.
festival. Yeah,
Yes.
we did a poetry festival exactly for this. For over
Yes, I
half of.
remember. I lit
Yeah,
the lamp for you, I think.
you lit the lamp, sir. Yes, sir. So it was for this to lift all of us out of that gloom, if possible, to bring all the poets from all over the world and just try and enjoy. So we did some 45, no, we did 65 events during the pandemic last year, just to lift up the spirits and keep the spirits high, support the artists, support the craftspeople, support the performing artists. All the big artists who came, they did pro bono. Leela Sampson, all those people. But we gave their accompanying artists money because they're all starving. We have to do something, and by doing that, that's what I am saying. That like civil services, and once you're in civil service, you're so used to helping everybody. It offers varied opportunities even in pandemic times to use our talents and capabilities for the public good across a large canvas. So I think
Thank you.
I'm very happy to be born in India, and I'm very happy to be a civil servant. I'm very happy that I was a police officer and could do the best I could.
How lucky, all Guru Anugraham. Thank you very
All
much,
Guru
Jija.
Anugraham, sir. Thank you
Thank you very
so
much.
much, sir. Really
Thank you. I
wonderful.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.